ago this month, I was out with my friends, we were having dinner, and I turned around to them and I said, guys, I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy a Ferrari. And they thought I was joking. I went to the bank. The bank manager thought I was joking as well, but I wasn't joking, I was deadly serious. And 2 or 3 weeks later, I took possession of this baby. And that was my first Ferrari ever. It was always a dream really to own a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, something like that. I was desperate since I was a child to own a supercar. And that reality and that dream came true 2 years ago when I bought this 360 Spider. The first thing to note is that I didn't pay cash for this car. And I think it's something like 80–85% of supercar owners do not pay for their car in cash. Most people actually finance their supercars. Why would you put 50, 100,000, 200,000 into a car where you know it's going to lose money, you know it's not a good investment? So generally you get finance to buy a car like this, and that's what I did. Now, I bought it 2 years ago. I bought it for 56,000 euros, which is actually quite a good price. If you think the Ford Focus fully spec'd, my RS was about 47,000, I think, fully spec'd. One of the biggest concerns really with these sorts of cars isn't so much the actual buying price, it's the ongoing cost to run the car. I'll share that with you in a bit. Now, some of the things that have really surprised me about the car are, firstly, the amount of attention it receives. It gets attention everywhere you go. Children, adults, the ladies. It just generates a lot of interest, a lot of attention, a lot more than I was expecting. It's quite embarrassing sometimes. But people generally are really responsive, really friendly towards the car. I know in some countries people are a bit not very, they're not happy for you when you've got something like this, but actually people here in the south of Spain, everyone just loves the car. They love to see it. They love, you know, when you stop for petrol, people come up to you and kids want to sit in the car and stuff and have some pictures taken with it. So it's all part of it, but because you don't see them too much, maybe around this area you do, maybe towards Marbella, there's a lot more supercars around there, but here where I live you don't really see these sorts of cars, so it attracts a lot of attention. I think the other thing that really surprised me a lot as well, although I was expecting it to an extent, was the noise, because I knew the noise was going to be great and amazing because I've heard Ferraris on the road before and stuff, but I've never really experienced a Ferrari full chat, you know, sport exhaust, what it would really sound like and feel like and get that sensation of power, because it's not super fast. I mean, it is fast, but it's not super fast. But it's the noise. The noise is mental. People down the street hear you coming there, turning around and, gee, what is that noise, that racket that's coming down the road? And that's also part of why it probably attracts a lot of attention, because it just makes so much noise. And that noise is intoxicating. The other thing for me as well was that when I bought it, I actually wanted to buy the coupe version, not the Spider. I didn't really want the Spider version because, well, I just preferred the look of the coupe. Boy, am I glad I went for the Spider though in the end. And the reason I went for the Spider was because where I bought it, they didn't have a coupe version available. They just had this convertible. So, and I sat in it, and the roof was open in the showroom. And when I sat in it, I was like, actually, this is quite cool to have the hood down. You know, you can see everything around you, and the difference of the feeling in the car when it's closed to when it's open is is night and day. So I mean, I think I'm completely sold on Spider versions, because although this hood is actually really expensive to replace should it go wrong, I think it's something like 7,000 or 8,000 euros if it decides to pack in. So it's always a worry, or somebody might damage it or something. But the feeling and the sensations you get with that hood are undescribable. There's another thing, and I touched on it in a previous video, is that when you own a car like this, you sort of start belonging to a different group of people who you might not have had access to previously, and you get invited to a lot of stuff. And ironically, the more money you have, the more free everything is, and so you get invited to a lot of stuff which you don't have to pay for. You know, evenings and unveilings of Ferraris and stuff. I'm going to another event next week that I've been invited to, and then the following week another event, and it's all because of this car. It's given me access to stuff that I didn't have before, and it's given me access to people that I probably wouldn't have even known before. Now, I don't tend to hang around in Ferrari circles as such, but there is a whole sort of community and a whole world that exists there around the car. It's amazing, really. It is really, really amazing. I will do a video on that separately, because I need to plan that one a bit better and really explain what I mean. And maybe actually next week, with the event I'm going to next week, that'll make it a bit clearer as to what I'm trying to get at. Apart from that, at the end of the day, this is probably the cheapest entry into Ferrari ownership at the moment. I think possibly the Mondial is a bit cheaper, but this is a fantastic way to start your Ferrari ownership experience, because it's good value, it's amazing sound that it has, it's not that expensive to run, and it's very comfortable and it's actually been quite reliable. I know I've had a couple of issues, but that was sort of expected. I sort of expected to have some issues. You know, every time I get in the car, I always wonder if it's going to start or not, which I think is, and it's always started. It's never not started. There's only once that it didn't start because I'd had it parked up for 2 or 3 weeks and I hadn't used it, and I didn't plug it into the charger and the battery went flat. But apart from that, it always starts. So I don't know why I'm always in my head thinking, oh, it might not start. For the past 2 years, it's always started. Now, let me just come back to a point that I mentioned earlier, which was the cost of running the car. Now, over the past 2 years, I haven't really kept a tally, so I had to go last night and go through all my different receipts and work out how much I'd actually spent on this. Now, when I bought it, incredibly, it had the same mileage as the amount of money I paid for it. It had 56,000 kilometers on the car. Now it's got 70,000. So I've done 14,000 kilometers in 2 years. That's 7,000 per year. I'm not sure what that is in miles. Is that about 5,000 miles a year? So that's not bad. That's probably quite a lot more than the average Ferrari gets used. I do use it as much as I possibly can, and I bought it to use it. I didn't buy it to invest money or anything like that. I bought it to enjoy it because that's what I wanted to do. Since I bought it, it has gone up in value. Despite the fact that I put some mileage on it, it has gone up in value. Now, when I totaled up how much I'd spent on this car over 2 years, it came to 9,800 euros. Now, that included the insurance. I haven't included fuel, because obviously fuel is relative to how much you use it. So, I mean, I've used about 3,500 euros, I think it was, of fuel. But I'm discounting the fuel because that's not really, you don't have to use it so much. So 9,800 euros over the course of 2 years. So you think on average it's costing me 5,000 euros a year to keep this car on the road. That's with the regular maintenance, things that go wrong, and the insurance. I think that's quite a reasonable cost, because I think when I was on the Ferrari chat forums and somebody was saying you need to budget 10 grand a year to run the car, I was like, Jesus, that's a lot of money. 10 grand a year is a huge amount of money, but 5 grand actually sounds a lot more acceptable if you've got £5 a year. But you know, £5 a year to run a Ferrari, that's not bad, because the thing is that over the past 2 years, this car, from going from what I bought it for at 56,000, is probably worth about 65, 66. So it's gone up the same amount that I've actually spent on it. So in theory, it hasn't cost me any money. This has been a free Ferrari for 2 years. And so my only concern is now that because it's 70,000 kilometers, there's a bit of a cutoff point apparently around the 90,000 kilometer mark, where then the price is going to come down a bit because people don't really want to buy the sort of the high milers. So I'm going to have to maybe look next year at changing it for something with lower mileage. I don't know yet. I'll have to see. I'd be very, very sad to see this car go. I love this car. It has been an incredible 2 years. Hugely exciting, huge amount of fun. I've loved this car. It's brought a lot of pleasure to a lot of people. A lot of smiles. We have good fun with it. And it's just adorable. I love the look of the car. I think it's a very soft looking car, but it's a very sort of I think it's aged very well. Possibly the lights haven't aged so well, but I think the car in general has aged beautifully. It looks sensational from the rear, which is what hopefully most people will see, and inside it's just an amazing experience. I love the fact that the steering wheel doesn't have a single button on it. I love the fact that it's a very raw feeling car. It's I would have liked to have got a manual version really, but it's really hard to come across a manual version here in Spain. You know, sometimes I come to my garage and I open the garage and I see the Ferrari in there, and it's like, wow, have I really got? I look at that's the badge I see when I open the garage, and I see the badge there, and I think, I can't believe I actually own a car with the prancing horse on it. I would be very sad if I had to let this car go. And I know it's only a car at the end of the day, but I love it. My cat loves this car. She's absolutely filthy. Where's she been? Jesus, where have you been? Where have you got my microphone? There have been moments over the past 2 years where I've been like tearing my hair out, and there's not much left of it because it's either, you know, been problematic. In the early days, I did have quite a few problems. Some of the money that I've spent has been on clutch release bearing, which needed fixing or replacing. I also replaced the gearbox pump for the F1 gearbox, which was €2,500, which was quite expensive. It needed new door locks because I couldn't open the car when it ran when the battery went dead, and I put new brake pads and stuff like this. So, but it has been a great car. It has been a great 2 years, and I can't wait to see what the next 2 years is going to bring with this car. Hope you found the video interesting. Please subscribe if you haven't, and give it a thumbs up. I think it always helps with YouTube if you give it a thumbs up. And I do have some great videos actually coming up, hopefully, with this car and some other Ferraris, because of some of the stuff I've been invited to. So please join me, and let's see what the next couple of years ownership of the Ferrari brings.